On today's Into Your Head, number 746. Oh, we're almost up to 747. The next one will be 747. We're in jumbo jet name territory. I knew this would happen someday. I didn't know it would creep up on me. Anyway, on today's Into Your Head, number 746 is the International Women's Day special, recorded on the fly on International Women's Day and published on the same day. Isn't it great? Isn't it absolutely great? And on this is supposed to be what you call it, a free-flowing, professional, whatever you call the thing you put on the end of a show with music underneath it. It's supposed to sound professional, but it doesn't now. But that's fine. I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to make myself sound bad in honor of International Women's Day because I'm a man. So that's my contribution. Anyway, coming up on the show stuff. International Women's Days walk into a bar. One of the International Women's Days goes straight up to the bar counter and says, "Hello, can I have half a pint of your finest Guinness, please?" And the man behind the bar says, "Certainly, sir." And the International Women's Day says, "Thank you." And the man behind the bar says, "Oh, I'm surprised you didn't react to me saying, 'Certainly, sir,' rather than 'Certainly, madam.'" And the International Women's Day says, Why would I? I'm not a woman, I'm a day. A day doesn't have a gender. Has an agenda, yes, but not a gender. I'm just a day. In fact, I'm not even the day. The day is Tuesday. I'm not the day. I'm just a label that's being attached to the day. Not the day itself. The day, Tuesday, will continue to exist long after I'm dead and gone. Although it won't. It'll cease to exist at midnight, but it'll still be on record if you want to be all stuff about it. And the man behind the bar says, "Oh, that's a good pint, or a half pint, I should say. Ho, that's a little joke." And the International Women's Day says, "Oh, well done, and you're great for you. A good funny little man there up on your high perch behind your bar." And the man behind the bar says, "I'm not on a perch at all." And the woman says, the International Women's Day says, it's a metaphor. That's what it is. It's a metaphor." And the man behind the bar says, "Well, I don't see it. There's no metaphor here. I don't see anything anywhere." And the International Women's Day says, "Oh, well, we better go and get you one then. I'll get you a physical representation of the metaphor that we've just used to make it easier for you. Will that help? I know metaphors are hard to understand. A good way to make metaphors more understandable and accessible is to get something physical that represents the metaphor. So you have something physical that represents a metaphor, and the metaphor represents probably something physical as well. So why don't you just have the something physical in the first place?" And the man behind the bar says, "That's my point exactly. Well done, sir or madam, or wherever you are." And the International Women's Day says, "Thank you very much, and a great night is had by all," except the International Women's Day, because people keep asking her stupid questions. Anyway, hello and welcome to the show. Two further International Women's Days walk into a further bar. One of the International Women's Days goes straight up to the bar counter and says, "Hello, can I have a pint of your finest Guinness, please?" And the man behind the bar says, "Now, which year are you from?" And the International Women's Day says, "I beg your pardon." And the man behind the bar says, "There's at least two of you International Women's Day in here right now. You can't both be this year's one." one. So which year are you? And the International Women's Day says, that's a terrible thing to say. You don't judge people or days by their age. How old I am or what year I came into existence is none of your business. You wouldn't go up to a woman and ask her age, would you? And the man behind the bar says, for one thing, I would, and for another thing, I'm not asking you your age, I'm asking you what year of International Women's Day are you? Because if you're this year's, I have to respect you, but if you're from a previous year or a future year, you're irrelevant. You've got absolutely no relevance whatsoever. You might as well just be, it might as well be a three-legged cat from Mars wearing a paper hat in here, which has no relevance whatsoever. And the International Women's Day says, I would argue that a three-legged cat from Mars wearing a paper hat would be very relevant in here because it's a nonsensical cat, and this place in here is full of nonsense, so it will be very fitting. And the man behind the bar says, I knew you were going to say something like that, bitch. And the International Women's Day says, I'm not a woman, rather, I'm a male. Calling me a bitch, there's no such thing as a male bitch, although maybe there is now that I think about it, but it's usually not a well, you know what I mean, or maybe you don't, do you? I suppose it's perfectly possible and feasible that you wouldn't know what I mean. Well, it's possible, although not feasible. You not knowing what I mean is unfeasible, unsustainable. It's possible that you don't know what I mean, but it's not feasible and sustainable. I suppose I can cure that by explaining to you what I mean, I suppose, if you bother to tell me that you don't know what I mean, but only if you stand up for yourself and say it, and have a bit of humility. A bit of humility never killed anyone. And the man behind the bar says, are you sure about that? Have you searched through everything that's ever happened in history and found that there's never ever been an event where humility has contributed to someone's death? Because they say the same thing about curiosity killing cats, don't they? They say curiosity killed the cat, although no, that's different, because they don't say curiosity never killed a cat. They say curiosity killed the cat, which it probably quite often has, I suppose. So that's a different thing, but still, you get the general gist, you get the general idea. By the way, we're 3 minutes and 9 seconds in and you still haven't ordered. And International Women's Day says, oh, typical barman, all you want to do is make money from a feast day, the feast of the International Woman. And the man behind the bar says, and that's another thing, International Women's Day, how is it international when it's on a different date in at least 4 different countries? It's on a different date. The one in Ireland is in March, the one somewhere else is in April. And the International Women's Day says, I think you're confusing International Women's Day with Mother's Day, which is indeed on a different date in different countries, but I'm not that. And the man behind the bar says, so an International Women's Day can't be a Mother's Day as well? You're so fucking obsessed with being independent that you can't countenance being a mother? And the International Women's Day says, oh, very clever, very, 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 very clever. Aren't you great? We might as well just give up now. Give up trying to have a conversation with you and just break into song.
You're listening to Into Your Head, hosted by Neal, Ireland's version of the Octomom. Except he's a dude. And has cats.
And a great night is had by all. 2 female cats walk into a bar. One of the female cats goes straight up to the bar counter and says, hello, do you know what day it is? And the man behind the bar says, oh, I think you've had enough already, madam. I'm sorry, I can't remember what day it is. No. And the cat says, oh, no, I know what day it is. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday, the 57th of March, or wherever it is. Well, by my calendar anyway. I go by a cat calendar, whatever that means. means. Whatever that means. Whatever that means. Whatever that, and the man behind the bar says, okay, don't break into a frigging song again. The last person or thing who came in here and broke into a song didn't even have any vocals to it, and I've had enough, quite frankly. Although now that you mention it, that was a different bar, wasn't it? Because this is a further bar. Didn't we say two cats walk into a further bar? Oh no, we didn't on this occasion, in fact. So no, I'm right. It was this bar and it was me. So I'm right about one thing for a change. I'm losing a bit of confidence today because I've had 4 International Women's Days walk into my bar. Admittedly, 2 of them were in a different bar, but 2 of them were in here, and I'm somehow psychically aware of the other 2. It's almost as if, it's almost as if it's all part of the same thing in some way, if you know what I mean. But no, it's given my confidence a knock because I have all these International Women's Days coming in here, all cocky and confident. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And they're knocking me down a peg. They're tearing me down a peg. They're taking out the peg and putting the peg down further down. And then it's a round peg in a square hole. Not that there's anything wrong with that, unless you're a bit OCD. It's fine for a round peg to go into a square hole and vice versa. As long as it fits relatively securely, it's not a problem. There's more to life than shapes, There's more to life than throwing shapes, as they say. And the cat says, there is indeed. I couldn't agree more. Although as a cat I do a lot of throwing shapes, and it's quite in a way it's quite artistic. You see me stretching myself up on the wall with the moon behind me in silhouette, although how often does that happen in real life? I suppose no, it doesn't, but this isn't real life, is it? And the man behind the bar says, we're getting a bit fourth wall for me now, if you don't mind me saying so. And the cat says, that's fine, we'll just move on. I'm very sorry for addressing the reality of the situation of the world that we live in and the fact that it's not real. I'll just go back to harmlessly ordering a drink, shall I? And the man behind the bar says, yes, please. And the cat says, well then, I refer you to my previous statement in which I requested a pint of your finest Guinness, please. Thank you very much. And the man behind the bar says, certainly, madam, coming right up. It's coming right up. Right up out of this bucket here that's plumbed into a tap. I have a bucket here underneath the counter and it's plumbed into this tap. I'm just going to pull the tap now and start. And the cat says, you don't have to give me a blow-by-blow account of how you produce the Guinness. You're not training me in here, This is like Christ. This is like when you take your lunch break from the office and you go into some deli and you spend the first 15 minutes of your lunch break queuing for the privilege of telling someone how to make your frigging sandwich for you. And then you're supposed to pay them and then tip them. No, the whole reason I pay someone else to do something for me is so that I don't have to learn to do it. And the man behind the bar says, fair enough. And if we're honest, you wouldn't make much of a bar Guinness pint puller anyway with the non-opposable thumbs. And the cat says, I don't have non-opposable thumbs. I've no thumbs at all. Don't be critiquing thumbs that don't even exist, for Christ's sake. And the barman says, oh, I'm sorry about that. That was a little insensitive. And the cat says, that's okay, as long as you realise the error of your ways. And the barman says, it wasn't an error, it was intentional. I was being intentionally insensitive, but I do acknowledge that I was being insensitive, and I apologise. And the cat says, Jesus Christ, man. Jesus, holy fucking Christ on a popsicle stick. And the barman says, no, but we have some of these little salty meat snacks in a packet, and we have some Tato pub crisps. And the cat says, no, thanks, I'll just have the Guinness. Thanks very much. Maybe I'll get a chipper on the way home. And the barman says, oh, will you now? You'll get a chipper on the way home. You feel perfectly fine about coming in here and announcing straight to my face that you're going to go and patronise another business other than mine here. Would you go up to your husband and say, I'm going to go out and find some other fella while you're out? And the cat says, I'm a cat. And the man behind the bar says, oh yeah, you're a cat. Never mind. And the cat says, well, I do mind that I'm a cat. It pains me every day. Why do you think I'm in a bar here? I'm in a bar trying to be a human, and straight the first thing that gets flung in my face, admittedly only 5 minutes and 35 seconds into the conversation, but still, one of the first things that gets flung into my face before I've even sat down is that I'm a cat. Have to be reminded of a heavy opportunity. And the man behind the bar says, I can see how that would be absolutely terrible. It must be terrible to be a cat and have 9 lives and be able to sleep all day and then go to a bar. A cat who can talk. Surely to Christ, that's the best of both worlds. We have a bit of positivity and stop whining. And the cat says, fair enough. And the great night is had by all, although the cat continues to whine. So she thinks she's not having a good night, but she is. So she might as well not be having a good night at all, if that's the case.
The Into Your Head podcast will be right back after this. We're back with the Into Your Head podcast.
And now, in honour of International Women's Day, we present a woman on file from the Into Your Head archives.
Good afternoon, I'm Shawnee Grega, and this is a Thai Weekly World News. And this time, it's not even a rerun. A controversy has erupted after this week's unveiling of a Thai's 2012 Christmas tree. The local Chamber of Commerce had stated that this year's tree would be an artificial one. However, local atheists have pointed out that rubber grows on trees. A Thai Weekly World News has learned that rubber does indeed grow on trees, but only on real trees, not artificial ones. A Thai Weekly World News has also learned that cats meow in an attempt to mimic human babies, and that copper, coal, tungsten and gold account for a large part of the industrial output of Outer Mongolia. There's been a mixed reaction to the announcement that German discount retailer Lidl is to offer cheap, generic, over-the-counter placebo pills, in competition with local pharmacists. Critics have pointed out that the change appears to be a cynical attempt to rebrand the store's unpopular, foreign, sucky sweets, which they say will continue to suck, no matter what they call them. Tributes have been pouring into the Grand Canal in Athy after a lorry carrying funeral wreaths to a flower shop in the town skidded and left the road. We'll have more on this story if we think of anything. Probably not, though. Locals have reacted angrily to the announcement that the town's car park system is to be restructured, with the launch of a new parking mats programme. Each motorist will be required to purchase a large mat and roll it out in the parking space before leaving his or her vehicle. The mats are designed to fade over 6 months, and parking wardens will be equipped with handy pocket-sized colour palettes to determine whether they are still valid. In traffic, 2 dogs have collided in Leinster Square, causing major tailbacks. And finally, the weather. I'm Shawnee Grega for a Thai Weekly World News. Join me tonight on television for a new series of hypothetical questions, when I'll be asking whether more needs to be done. But for now, a very good morning to you.
I know what you're thinking there. You're thinking, oh, that's great. Isn't that great? It is, it's great. It is indeed great. I wrote that, by the way, but I got a woman to perform it because I'm a feminist. I don't just go coming up with fine material and just giving it to myself. No, I like to spread the creative wealth around a bit, so I got my wife to record those when I think of anything for her to say. When I don't have anything for her to say, she doesn't say anything on here. That's how it works. It's fair. It wouldn't be fair to just put her on and expect her to say stuff of her own accord, because that's not how feminism works. That's called patronising people. Women don't like to be. If there's one thing women don't like, it's to be patronised. That's what you women don't like. You hate being fucking patronised, and I intend to help you out by not patronising you. Anyway. 2 feminists walk into a bar. one of the feminists goes straight up to the bar counter and says, "Hello, kind of a pint of your finest Guinness, please." And the man behind the bar says, "Certainly, sir." And the feminist says, "Oh, I thought you'd say certainly, madam, because I'm a feminist." And the man says, "Well, you can have feminist women too, can't you?" And the customer says, "Indeed you can, indeed you can. Well spotted, there's no flies on you." And the barman says, "There certainly isn't, because we serve food in here. If there was flies in here, I can tell you they'd shut us down. The people from the what you call it, the government, that's what they call it, the government, the food safety section of the government will come in and say, 'Oh, you can't have flies in here. Shut this place down until you manage to get the flies to fly away.'" You say, "You shoo the fly." You say, "Shoo, shoo, flies. Shoo." What's that song goes? "Shoo, fly, don't bother me. Shoo, fly, don't bother me. Shoo, fly, don't bother me. I don't need your company." And not only do I not need your company, I actively want to not have your company because it's putting my business in peril. No offense, fly, but the world doesn't welcome flies nowadays in the same way that it welcomes women, unfortunately. And the feminist says, "Oh, I have to agree with that, I'm afraid. Once we have the whole women equality thing sorted out, I'll be happy for our movement to move on to flies and other creatures who don't get the same treatment. But no, not until the women thing is sorted out, until we have balance between men and women. Of course, by then the men will be going down the other side of the scales, and we'll have to go and represent them. Then we'll have to, us feminist women will have to start representing downtrodden men when the balance tilts in the other way. But we'll find some room for flies as well. Maybe we'll represent men like you who have flies on them, and we'll kill two birds with the same stone, so to speak. Although people will then go, "Oh, birds, that's a very sexist term they use as slang in England and Ireland for women." And of course everyone will get up on their high horse then. But no, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I can only deal with one thing at a time. We're not multitaskers, those feminists. Well, except the female ones, they're multitaskers, but the male ones aren't. Oh no, did I get that the wrong way around? I probably did. Either way, it does make you think, doesn't it? And the man behind the bar says, "It certainly does. So much so that I've forgotten what your order was, sir." And the feminist says, "Oh, no problem. I've forgotten too. How do we proceed now?" And the barman says, "Well, proceed as if you've just come in, except you can skip the formalities of saying hello and stuff. Not that that's a formality, it's nothing formal about it, I guess you know what I mean. But just think of what you want to have to drink and then ask me for it." And the feminist says, "Fair enough. Have a pint of your finest Guinness, please." And the man behind the bar says, "Certainly, madam." And the feminist says, "You're calling me madam now?" And the man behind the bar says, "What does it matter? It's just a label. They're interchangeable. Madam, sir, it's all the same. We're all equal now, you know." And the feminist says, "Oh, good point. I like the cut of your jib, I must say." And the barman says, "Oh, thank you. We'll be having that. We'll be serving that up for a Sunday brunch as a carvery tomorrow." And the woman, stroke man, stroke feminist says, "Oh, that's great. You might come in then tomorrow, because I don't like cooking myself. I like to get out and go to a carvery of a Sunday lunchtime." And the barman says, "I said brunch, not lunch." And the woman says, "Yes, but you said lunch. I said lunchtime. I like to have my brunch at lunchtime. Isn't that not possible? If the brunch goes on from, say, I don't know, 11 to 2, then I can have, if I come in later during the service, then I can have my brunch at lunchtime." And the man behind the bar says, I suppose that's true. In fact, maybe I should be more open to stuff like that and market it as such and say, do you want to have your brunch at lunchtime? Well, now you can, with our hours of brunch service that go on through the early parts of lunchtime. I should probably market it more." And the woman says, You're dead right. And the great night is had by all. Good morning.
You've been listening to Neal Neal tell you stories. About cats, probably. Neal talks a lot about cats. Send your topic suggestions to studio@intoyourhead.com.
Sit, Jody, sit. Good cat.